Welcome back to the X Podcast. It is January 2023, and I believe the month is going strong.
Yes, it is.
Middle of prayer and fasting.
Love it.
We are, I don't know if we should give away trades.
I love it. Oh,
love it.
you know what? So I fast sugar.
Oh, braggart.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. You're not supposed to tell people what you fast, whatever. So, but what I was going to say is that it's always really hard. We're kicking off the year with a fast. It's always really hard to give up something that you're so dependent on. But I feel like about 5 or 6 days in, I start to lose my sugar craving or whatever it is. And so, but drinking water and unsweet tea only is getting a little bit old. But that's okay.
You know, one of the things that we always emphasize is that the power of fasting, at least in the spiritual context, is you're not just removing something, you're replacing something.
Yeah.
And that's true in any area where you're trying to build a better habit, but especially, you know, I always joke, like, if you're giving up food, but you're not replacing it with prayer and scripture, you're just starving yourself. You're just going to be hungry all around.
Yeah.
But all that to say, though, I will say, like, because there's some things that I kind of started to remove as early as December 25th, 26th. And I will say a little 2.5 weeks into this thing that I'm remembering again the power sometimes of simply removing something from your life and what just removing something can do.
Like work.
Yes. Like there's some food and some things that I have removed and some distractions I have removed that just in 2 weeks I feel an incredible amount of difference in mental clarity and emotional clarity. And it really is powerful to start off the year this way, and I'm excited. But I wanted to, in the podcast before the last episode, the episode before the last, when we actually...
the first one of the year.
The first one of the year, the Trade Seeker, we recorded actually in December. Yeah. We talked about the beginning of the year. We had a lot of positive feedback about that. And so because we take the month of January as a faith community to kind of fast and seek God for the year, one of the things that I've tried to do is give myself permission to kind of have the whole month when it comes to vision for the year personally and setting goals. Because I used to feel this pressure by December, I'm going to, have the next year. But I really try to give myself permission. Hey, as I get into the new year and as I'm reflecting and praying and fasting, I want to give myself...
Well, I don't want to set my goals before I ask God what my goals should be.
Right. Yes.
I mean, if he's going to direct me, doesn't mean you can't have goals you want in your own life. Yeah. But if he's going to direct me in an area, then I want to be open to that.
So I spent Friday and Saturday this past weekend at one of my favorite coffee shops, Parable, and I spent about 3 hours both days just on a Pages doc called 2023. And I realized again the power.
You're going to read it to us?
No. The power emotionally of writing out vision.
Yeah.
And like you said, like I'm keeping it. This may sound spiritual. I've told God this. I'm keeping this open-handed before you.
Yeah.
To add, remove, change, clarify. But I just started writing out. I wrote out a whole page. I didn't really.
Why don't you give us some of it?
Okay. Well, I will tell you this.
Is that right there?
No. It's on a Pages doc on my computer. But I can tell you, I've this year. Every year's different. Every year, my personality type is I have some goals. The last couple of years have been a little bit different, but this year I just really felt a personal need to kind of, I don't know, a personal urgency to go a little extra, let's just say, in writing out some vision and writing out some goals and some extra intentionality into where I'm going for the year and setting parameters and setting so for instance, I'll tell you a few things I've done.
Yeah.
I started on one page.
Let me get ready to write them down. I might want them too.
On one page, I wrote out prayers for the year.
Well, so you're done? Wow. All your prayers for the year.
No.
Write them out. What you're praying for to happen in this year.
Yes.
Give us some examples.
Okay. I won't give some specifics, but I will say.
Is it win the lotto?
It's not win the lotto.
Oh.
Yeah, I have prayers about some things I want God to do in my soul this year. I have some prayers about I've been writing. I met with somebody yesterday that's in the middle of a book project, and I realized as I was talking to her that I have written a quarter to half of a book in 4 different books. So one of the things I'm asking God for vision of in January is vision for what book to finish. And so I have prayers.
Have you been that all over the place on what you're writing?
It's really weird. I think I told you, like, while I was finishing Hope for the Wilderness, I started writing this book. I'll let you read a chapter. It's a very memoirish book on Young.
Yeah.
And then I won't say what some of the others are, but then I got an idea of a book that I started working on for about 4 or 5 months. But then there's some other there's some secondary scrap notes from Hope for the Wilderness. I'll just say this, kind of maybe sequelish kind of content that that kind of went from my back burner to my front burner. And so I'm like, okay, maybe this is the one I actually need to finish first.
You don't know now?
So anyways, and then there's another one I ain't even told you about.
Oh my God.
That I wrote an entire outline for, entire table of contents, and I've written about 15,000 words for.
15,000 words already?
And so I really come in January, I want to decide what it is.
So what we're going to do on the podcast, and you get to participate, is you get to choose which book Russ finishes this year. And so we're going to put in the comments the 4 potential titles and concepts, and you get to vote for what I'm just messing. I wouldn't do that to you.
Would you do that? I feel like
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't absolutely not do that.
Okay.
But I absolutely think you should do it.
No.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
If you don't know, why don't you go put it in Facebook? Why don't you here's 4 potential books. Which one appeals to you most? And let them vote. And based on that, if you don't know, or let me flip a coin.
You know what? Let me pray about both of those options. So anyways, I'll go in detail about some of my other things.
Okay.
But I have a page of prayers. And really what I want to do, my goal is to have I'm creating like a 2023 document.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel something kind of pivotal about this year enough to where this is something that just to keep in my mind and just to stay in the zone, I'm going to reread through at least parts of it every single morning as part of my morning routine.
Mm.
So part of my morning routine, I'm going to keep some of this vision before me. So one of the things that I wrote out is I wrote out an entire page of verses for the year. Verses that have been really kind of percolating in me for a while, verses that are great reminders for me in the season, verses that are challenging where I need to be challenged, verses that are inspiring encouragements and faith building. And so I have a whole page of verses that I'm going to keep in front of me. I have a whole page of one thing I did that I think emotionally at times can just be important is I wrote a whole page of things I'm looking forward to. So I wrote out trips I'm going to take, concerts I'm going to go to, things that I'm looking forward to, things I'm going to do this year. But then, there's a lot of nitty gritty in there as well. So I wrote out like my 5 big goals of the year.
Share any?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is one of them to run a marathon?
No, but I am.
You're going to be
helping Brock run his 100-miler.
You're only doing half of it though.
Yeah, I'm doing a fraction of it.
Oh, sorry.
But
would I be able to guess any of those 5?
Probably.
Oh, okay.
Probably. Maybe off air will. Or I don't know. We try to keep this somewhat raw.
You don't have to.
No,
I'm not trying to.
Well, let me go through a basic 30,000 foot view first.
Okay.
And then we'll maybe drill in on some of the. And then I wrote out, because we break up our ministry calendar into seasons.
Right.
So for me, it's easy to kind of do that with life too. I think it's a natural. So I wrote out like in certain seasons what I want a focus to be. But I really wrote out 6 different categories of life, and I wrote out some basic goals this year. So I have physically. So that's like health and fitness goals. I wrote out financially.
Oh, you said you were going to do a show this year.
No, I did not. I wrote out spiritually. I wrote out professionally. I wrote out personally. I wrote out relationally.
Do you have 6 categories with 5 to 10 goals under each one?
About 4 or 5 under each one.
So you have about 30 goals for this year.
Yeah, but a lot of those are like...
Get up earlier.
Because again, I believe in the power of focus.
Yeah.
So I have like my 5 goals for the year.
Okay.
I know you don't love John Piper. One thing he said a long time ago I really like is he said, pick some God-sized goals this year and move with audacity towards them. And I like that. So here's some big goals.
Yeah.
But then I do have some things that if I read through them often enough, kind of micro goals under some of these things, some are bigger than others, I have them in the forefront of my mind, and I'm more likely to put them on my calendar.
Sure.
I'm more likely to keep them in front of me. There's already been some, since I even started creating this, that I know it's only been a week or two, that I'm like, I think back, oh yeah, like I need to do that today because I want to be better at that. I want to improve this area of my life. But then kind of macro, so I know this may seem like a lot to some people. For me, this is it's more extra than usual, but I just felt like for me personally, this is a year where I needed to dig deeper than usual into vision, deeper than usual into intentionality. But one of the things we talked about is John Gordon is really big on this word of the year.
Yeah.
Do you have a word of the year? Do you ever do that?
Yeah, I have. I don't have one yet for this year.
Yeah.
I feel like I've done that sometimes and then not really followed through on it. Like, or built, let me put it this way. I've had a word, but not always built the structure around it to move toward it.
Yeah.
But I did. I mean, 1 year it was discipline. I wanted to be more disciplined in certain areas of my life. You know, when it came to eating, when it comes to that, that was 2 years ago. And so I have some. I haven't necessarily nailed down one, but you have. So you want to share your word?
Okay, I'll share my word. But first,
I thought it was dancing.
It's not dancing.
Okay.
But first, did you have any questions? I rambled a lot.
Well, no, I mean, that's a lot to take on. Like, are you trying to suggest that we should all...
I'm not saying what I did, anybody should do.
But it sounds like you have, so here's my question. You have 5 big goals. You have 30 smaller goals. What do you focus on?
But see, so here's the thing. First off, a lot of those micro goals, if I do them, are going to build towards those macro goals.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair enough.
And then there's some things that I want to get done or I want to grow in that if I don't, it's okay. But I still want to keep them on. So I almost look at it as like those 5 big goals are to be on my front burner. The other things I want to at least keep on my back burner. Like I at least want to keep them in the back of my mind. Stephen Covey may would say it this way. You can't change usually more than 2 or 3 areas of your life at the same time. Usually just one area of the seven like quadrants. But I like, this helped me one time. He said, but what you can do is you can make sure that all of the other ones are still on the track as you focus on the one. In other words, like there was a season of my life where I decided I was doing the whole Dave Ramsey plan, right? And I was doing the whole thing, get out of debt, do all that kind of stuff, which he would say you need gazelle intensity. You have to go at it full force.
Sorry, you're adjusting my chair. Chairs tend to.
But I went through a season where I realized, like, man, the thing I need to do most, this is like 2016, I was like, the thing I need to do most in this season is I need to get in shape. I need to. And so I lost 30 pounds. Well, I could say I'm going to do both of these full intensity, which I probably won't be able to do.
Yeah.
Or on the other extreme, I could say, well, screw my finances. I'm just going to do this. Instead, I just kept it slowly going down the track.
Yeah.
Like I just decided
I'm progress in both areas.
I'm going to, yes. So I realized what I'm, and maybe not communicating it the greatest, what I'm creating, really it was an idea of vision that helped fuel me. And it'll probably be clarified as I go on.
Yeah.
But I just needed to put down on paper, what are my big goals?
Now, are these things you can cross off? Are they things that it's like...
The 5 big goals are.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones are a little bit more intangible.
Yeah.
But for me, one of the things that I want to do is...
You want to give one of the small ones? I think I
should have brought my MacBook.
I'm just thinking do you remember any of them? I'm just thinking for people to hear this. Yeah. Like, I mean, I think one of the things that we wanted to approach this conversation was how do we, kind of like we're doing this series, how do I make the most out of this year?
Yeah.
Because I do think the days, weeks, months, and years will really pass us by if you are static.
Yes.
The time keeps moving.
Yes.
And next thing you know, that's where your life is full of regret, right?
Yes.
Life is full of regret when you get years down the road and you're like, man, I wish I'd started that project. I wish I'd started that business. I wish I had started writing that book. I wish I 5 years later, I would have that, So I think that's the big, the big question marks. How do we not end up like that? And I think what you're doing,
right?
One of the ways is that you're being thoughtful. You're planning. You're saying, no, these are the things I want out of life,
Right.
and I'm going to move toward those.
Yeah.
Now, just listening to it seems like a lot. It seems like you'd be moving in a lot of different directions. It seemed like you'd be writing a lot of different books.
So
it seems like you.
Yeah. So for instance, in my 5 big goals, like one of my goals is a weight goal. Yeah. I want to get down to this weight.
What was it?
Well, I'll tell you. It's actually 160.
Okay.
I want to get down to 160.
Yeah.
And so now I've said it publicly. So I gotta, and I actually set a deadline. So now that
what's the deadline?
I'm gonna put myself on.
What's the deadline? You want to give us the deadline? No.
The deadline is the end of February.
Okay.
So I know
160.
It's tough. So I want to get down to 160.
Hey,
so under
Lydia, can you just use Siri to leave you a reminder that we would ask on podcast toward the end of end of February how Russell's doing on his weight one? So maybe just a little mental note. I guess I could have done that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a goal that you can mark off. What happens if you don't hit it?
Yeah, that's
what happens if you end up 164, 165? You going to keep going? You give up? Do you modify your goal?
That's a great question.
Well, what's your answer? You'll find out when you get there.
How about this? If I don't reach 160 by the end of February,
we have cake.
I have to give Lydia $200.
Why Lydia? Why did you just ignore me? How about 100 to me and 100 to Lydia?
Okay.
Lydia's like, no, shut up. She doesn't have a microphone. Yeah. Lydia's not going to keep you accountable.
Okay, so then...
Nah, you don't have to do that.
So then
Lydia just chimed in and said, amen. No, what did she say? Yes. Sounds good.
So then under physical, like when you ask for examples of small ones, under physical, I have that goal, but then I also have stuff like have blood work done and like doctor's appointment stuff I've been putting off.
Okay.
I have things like
some of this is a to-do list.
It's almost like
it's not necessarily. Some of it's a goal. Yeah. Some of it's something. It's important that you want to do.
Right. So some of it's to-do list. Some of it's kind of goals. I'm trying to remember. We
should take one of these podcasts to talk about the 4 disciplines of execution.
We should.
I don't think anybody would care. I don't know if they would or not. But creating wigs, knowing the difference between the lag and the lead measure, and how to, because I think you can apply some of that stuff in your own life.
You really can. Yep. You really can. So yeah, man, I don't even know if this would interest anybody, but if you're watching this and this stuff interests you, I could bring out my goals next time and we could actually talk through them.
You'd want to do that?
I wouldn't talk through all of them.
Oh.
But I could talk through some of them.
Well, here's the thing. If you're interested in having a personal life coach who will help you plan out the vision for your life, you can send in $39.95 to... No, you can contact.
But then I have some so under personal.
Yeah.
So under personal, that's where I have more of I have one of the book
Date
goals.
more.
Nope. I have one of the book goals. I even have a couple small, this may sound really weird. I want to master all the Roman pastas, like cacio e pepe and carbonara and pasta alla vodka. I want to master cooking Roman pastas.
Wait. When you mean master, I mean, that's a pretty big term. That's like somebody who's been a chef for a long time. That's, you mean master.
I mean master as in, I feel like I've mastered risotto. Now, master is a strong word, but let me say this
He's
way.
going on MasterChef.
No. Let me say it this way. I feel confident. I want to master as in I feel confident and it actually tastes good.
Okay.
The one dish I feel like I can't get proficient in right now is cacio e pepe and carbonara. I cannot get
the cacio e pepe.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Why are you me?
I know carbonara.
Okay.
I know her.
Yeah. Anyways. So I don't know if that's helpful at all. And then
so that's good.
So I have relational. I have spiritual / emotional. So under some of those, I have I have stuff about my evening rhythms.
Yeah.
Stuff about Sabbath. Stuff about some spiritual reading and prayer goals and. So yeah. So anyways, and then
so I don't do all that.
Yeah, and I don't always do all that. This is probably more than I've
extra, Russ.
This is extra. But for this particular season, for me, it's helpful.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll see as the year goes on. I'm saying it publicly, so this can maybe be some accountability. But one thing that I have done in the past to a decent measure of accountability that I want to do this time, it's kind of like we do with seasons. I'm trying to plan in advance an offsite day on like a Friday where I review, where I SWOT the season and I SWOT these 6 areas.
That's
and
good.
say, okay, how am I doing in these? The big 5, where I'm at on them, and I really want to establish kind of a weekly check-in too.
I'm curious. This will be. We need to come back and revisit this.
Okay,
this will be a great reminder.
All right,
we come back and see how has this experiment been for you?
Yeah,
has it been helpful? Has it been? I don't know. Sometimes you wonder about like, will you ever get discouraged because I put so much on there and I feel like I'm not making the progress. I put goals that were maybe these weren't 1-year goals. I found out these were 3-year goals, or or I had too many goals, or I had So I'll be really curious how this plays out for you. Well, I think it's great to have vision, though. I would much rather lean in the direction what you're doing. Than just to do life. Because you just do life will happen to you.
Yes.
You won't create the world and the life you want.
Oh, I'm going to fail, but the goal is right now I'm going to fail forward.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm going to hit some of these goals and some I'm not going to hit. And I've gone back and forth. There's my tendency early in life was to make way too many goals.
Yeah.
But then I've had some years where I've not had a lot of, because I just felt like this year, man, I just want to grow. And a lot of my goals, to be honest, are internal.
Yeah.
One of my goals this year are internal. Another page I didn't mention is I have a whole page that's kind of like self-declarations of here's who I'm becoming this year.
Yeah.
So I have that. I have that kind of stuff too. But I
love it.
So I'm not suggesting that for anybody. But for me, it was important this year to really have some strong vision. And then I've not done the word of the year in a few years, but and I wasn't going to this year.
Okay.
Until Passion Conference.
No.
And then I did.
And the word is passion.
Okay, so let me set it up.
Can I guess the word? Would I guess it?
I don't think you would, but you can try.
No.
It's not, to be honest, the word itself's not very inspiring.
No.
It's not what you would think.
Okay, go ahead and tell us. What's the point of the word of the year? Because here's what's helped me understand this, right? I understand the idea, but it seems like you have already put together kind of an extensive plan. Where is there room for the word? That word of the year is. It would make sense if you have a word for the year and you orient all of your goals and plans around that area, if that's what you want to grow in. It seems like you have an entire extensive plan, which I think is fantastic. Like as you said, I feel like that happens to me all the time. I have all these goals. I have these prayers. I don't seem to hit them all.
Yeah.
But if I do move forward toward them, the power of progress, I'm going somewhere. I'm doing something. I'd rather do that than do nothing.
Yeah.
How is that going to fit with all of this?
So I kind of look at it as a hierarchy.
Okay.
So word of the year, that's the first thing. Like if I'm in the morning getting done with devotions or whatever, and I'm bringing out 2023, and I'm looking at vision. If I don't have time to make it past page 2 to get into goals and all this kind of stuff, if nothing else, I want this word to inform how I live this year.
Okay.
So it's a hierarchy. So this word informs how I live this year.
Okay.
But under that, the way I'm wired, I also need some concrete goals to go after.
Sure.
I need some things to keep me in forward motion in all the arenas of my life. Does that make sense?
It does.
So the word may surprise you. The word is linger.
Linger.
The word
have
is linger.
to let it linger.
I literally thought about that.
That's all.
So without dragging out this too long, Christine Kane gave, and I love Christine Kane.
Yeah.
She's a female preacher. To be honest, because I'd gone to a lot of conferences in the past, the thing about Christine Kane, not a knock, is a lot of times they're very similar.
Yeah.
But this
her
message, it's very Christine Kane, but this message, for whatever reason, every few years or so, you just have a timely message that was like, oh, that was for me. And it just...
penetrated your soul.
Penetrated my soul. It impacted me on so many levels. But one of the, and this part's going to sound very spiritual, but if you listen or watch this, we're in a faith context, but she talked a lot about the children of Israel and a lot about Joshua and moving in the promised land. But she really focused in on this whole thought of when Moses would meet with God face to face in the tent. And when it would happen, all of these people in the camp would stand up and watch.
Yeah.
And she just went in this whole a lot of brilliant kind of side trails. And one of them was, that's a lot of people today. They're content to stand up, to clap, to post about other people meeting with God, other people knowing God, other people going up the mountain. But you know this. There's a young man named Joshua that was in the tent. That when everybody else would stand at their tent and just watch Moses, Joshua would linger in that tent.
Yep.
And she just said something that may sound really simple, but for me it was just really profound. It was both encouraging and convicting. She said in many ways it was Joshua's lingering in that tent that commissioned him for what he did next.
Yeah.
And she said in many ways, whatever you're lingering in this season is going to commission you what you do next, either towards or away from God's purpose.
Wow.
And I just thought, so I immediately kind of journaled beyond the spiritual.
Yeah.
Because the spiritual was inspiring to me too. Because it's funny, Zach texted me. He was 8 seats over and he was like, I feel like this is your message. Because all about the presence of God.
Yeah.
And Moses says, if your presence doesn't go with us, don't take us.
Yep.
There's that whole, But I wrote down, I want in 2023 to linger longer over the right things and less over the wrong things.
Yeah, it's good.
So, I wrote down, even stuff as simple as when I think about how short life is, I want to linger less in social media.
Yeah.
In my mind, I want to linger less over what ifs, less over yesterday.
Less over offenses.
I want to linger less over offenses. I want to linger
I like it.
less over
failures.
I want to linger less over... I want to linger less in the things that aren't what God has for me. And then I wrote, I want to linger longer in God's presence. I want to linger longer. Hey, I think about more and more all the time. My parents, I want to enjoy our time together. And so I want to linger longer on the phone with my parents. I want to linger longer. This literally impacted me Sunday morning. Because on Sunday mornings, I hate how sometimes, because there's so much going on, can be going here and there. And so I wrote down, I want to linger longer in conversations. And so I literally had that word in my mind as I'm walking through the lobby. And I'm talking to people that a lot of times it'd be easy because I know them. I have a good relationship with them. Hey, how's it going? I was like, no, I don't linger. Like, how are you really doing? And so I just wrote down, I want to linger because at the end, I'm never going to regret the time that I lingered with people or God or in positive things. But how often do I just linger scrolling, linger in TV, linger in my mind, linger and
it's good.
So good. If whatever God's doing in my life next is going to be connected to what I'm lingering in now.
Yeah, that's good.
I want to be lingering in the right things. And so
that's good.
So my word's linger.
I like that.
And
that's funny. That's what my word is.
Is it?
That's good though.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
See, that's
now I kind of feel weird sharing all this publicly.
Well, it is a lot. People are going to come up to you, and then they're just going to keep talking and talking and talking, and they're like, he loves this. 30 minutes later, talking and talking. I love that. That's beautiful.
All right, I've shared too much. You share.
No, I think it's great. I don't have anything. That's wonderful. No, I have some goals and certain things that, I have for this year. And oddly enough, I don't have all those. I've thought about that. Like, what's a word for me this year? I think I tried in the past, and maybe I feel like I'm so weird because I'm so driven, but also routinely built in how I'm driven.
Right.
That I have more of like dreams for where I want to be. Rather than the goals to get there. I have some of the goals to get there.
Which is good.
I do have some of the goals to get there. One of my big goals for this year is I want to write and finish my second book. I started it a little bit last year, didn't do much after that. I've started back into it again this year, not as consistent as I want, but I am. I've constantly, I wrote down more thoughts today. They keep coming to me. And I was diving back into it last week in the morning. And so, and I've even got quasi deadline in my mind, when I want to finish the book. It's going to be a lot harder to write than the last one, I think, for me. And I know the pull when I have, because I have other ideas too floating around, and I've written multiple pages on other things, but this is the book that I think I'm going to do next. And so I really haven't, I have some physical kind of goals, and I'm working on those right now, but a lot of those, I kind of really had some strong ones a couple years ago, and I've tried to maintain those. So a lot of it is kind of, I got a little lazy, so I'm getting back to that and then maintain it. You know, those are kind of like some of where mine are. And so, you know, I haven't really, it's like I look at your entire vision life plan and mine feels really,
that's just because, well, you know what? You're so further along than I am, and you're already doing so much better.
No, okay, yeah, right. Let's not. But
mine's probably more need based.
I think, I mean, this is great. It's inspiring. And I haven't really put a lot of, I guess I haven't probably put a whole lot of energy into a word. And so maybe that's something for the rest of our time. And for us all, I like, got to give them one. Because I don't want to I don't want to pick something just random. I kind of like that. Like you have, I want a moment where it's like this word, and it almost is tied with a message, whether it's in my own personal time, devotional time, reading something, jump at me and going, that's me. That's who I want to be.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's okay. I guess the point may be to make out of this, we take sometimes a different approach on some of these things, but here's what I know about both of us, and maybe this will be encouraging to you, or if not, maybe it'll just at least speak something to you, depending on, because I think, you know, we're wired somewhat similarly, we're wired somewhat differently. You know, you're probably more spontaneous, just kind of like, seize opportunity, go to this. I'm a little bit more probably, you know, picture in my mind, here's where I want to end, just row consistently every day. You know what I mean?
Which is good.
Yeah, but I'm saying we're different in kind of the way we are a little bit built, you know, internally in some of those things. I need to be challenged in some of those things, you know, like but I also don't want to just fabricate a word because everybody's like, come up with a word. I was like, I need a word. I need a stronger. So I'm going to hit the gym more this year. And, you know, it's like, okay, I want to have some meaning behind it. If there's a personal, if I feel like there's a word for me, so I'm definitely like, I think going to be more and more open as we're in the season of prayer and fasting and asking. And I've talked about this with someone else. And so, you know, but I want it to have meaning.
Yeah.
I want it to have meaning because I want my life to have meaning. I want to plan and design my life around meaning. But I have some like house, like family plan goals as well this year. So, but they're not that many.
Yeah.
Like I have some, I guess I keep so regimented in what I do, and I feel like I have a very full plate of the message content that I'm doing, the opportunities that I kind of like from a personal, other than like the family goal. There's some family stuff that I want to figure out how we're praying for just my wife's work situation and just some things as our family dynamic is changing with Lauren and Hunter and all that. So there's some things that we're you know, my mind kind of working toward, and there's some trips and things that we want to take, and there's but you know, I've kind of narrowed it down to if I accomplish writing my second book this year, I'll feel like I've accomplished something.
Yeah.
On top of everything, you know, it's not you know, we talked about the whirlwind is all of the regular stuff that I still need to do. It's what can I accomplish this year?
Yeah.
That will, and I don't know that I want to do this at this pace all the time.
Right.
But to me, that's like when someone asked me, it was my birthday is always an end of the year. I always kind of like praying, okay, what do you want to wish for and all this stuff. That was what I carried with me into the new year. Yeah. That I was really setting my goal because it takes all, you know, so I do.
My gosh.
It takes all your time.
Yep.
I mean, there were hobbies that I had last year that I didn't even touch or do the entire year trying to release a book.
Yeah.
And so it is an all-encompassing thing, but it's also connected to some of the future dreams that I have.
Yeah. Which are what?
Well, I'm not going to say that now, but they're connected to just, it's dreams. They're things that I want to build toward for the future me, I guess. And so writing is one of those. Like, you know, I when I say dreams, it's kind of like, what if you could say, hey, if you could script how your life would be 10 years from now, 5 years from now, it would be what? Well, part of that is writing. And so for me, I guess, so I'm taking like, I guess the bigger dream, you know, I think too, is just, I taking the bigger kind of narrative, let me just say, of what I want or what I see in my life or what I maybe hope happens, and then pulling that all the way down to what can I do right now that would potentially open that door down the road.
Yeah.
And so for me, that big one was probably writing this next book.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'm putting my energy into it right now.
Put our goals in. I would say
I don't have
hold each other accountable, but you don't need it.
Well, that's not true. I mean, I will. But here's the thing. But I also don't have 35 goals.
Well, okay. I have 5 big goals.
And then 30 small ones. I don't have 35 goals.
5 big goals.
Yeah.
If the rest don't happen, I don't care. Because if these 5 happen, almost all of the other ones happen.
Well, there you go. They're connected. And that's kind of, and that I think the big thing that maybe we could leave people to take away from just this conversation. I think one of the things that's cool is that you and I are both people that care very much about vision and progress in our lives. Neither one of us want to live stagnant lives. Neither one of us just want to exist. We want to create things. We want to move something. And yet we do it in slightly different ways. One's not better than the other. I can learn something from the way you do. And, I think it's awesome that you take the time and really kind of craft a lot of those things. I'm challenged and inspired by your word. Like, that's awesome. God, give me a word. You know what I mean? And at the same time, I think we all need that. I guess no matter how you're wired, your personality type, that we all need something, I think, to look forward to. It's kind of like, even a funny little example, but like for my wife, it's always like vacation or a trip.
Yeah.
I need something to look forward to. She's like, we don't have anything planned for the summer. And our plans have been on hold waiting to find out about Audrey and when she's going to go to basic, which we found out. And so when we know when she's leaving. And so we started talking about, hey, let's do a trip. Yeah. We're going to have like an empty house while she's gone.
Yeah.
Let's go do a trip. But she's like, she feels unsettled if we don't have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it is a little bit for all of us. We need something to look forward to.
Yeah. Again, it feels so weird to quote my own book, but I talk about, and I think about it, that hope and vision are 2 sides of the same coin. They're synonymous.
Yeah.
And the way that you fill your hope tank is by filling your vision tank.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's like, I know that. I've written about it. I've talked about it, but I forgot until I literally sat down for an hour and a half the other day at Parable and began I didn't even know where to start. I almost didn't want to do it. I'm like, I'm starting writing vision. I feel like God kind of spoke some things to me at the conference in Atlanta.
So cool.
And then by the time I was done, I felt like a different person.
Wow.
I literally felt filled. I felt full. And I'm like, oh, I needed this. Even if none of those goals happen,
they're still great.
I want them to happen.
Yeah.
I need the power that vision and hope brings.
Yeah, that's so
And I just, I don't know. And it is funny because everybody is different. It's so funny. I met with somebody yesterday that we both know that said, hey, can I meet with you? I want to write a book. I want to pick your brain about the process. And we're talking. And I was like, well, here's some of what the experts say. Here's some things that help me. And then she was like, well, how do I, as far as writing chapters? And I said, well, here's where you probably want to do what Pastor Tim does and not what I do. And I was like, because I'm
still trudging through chapter 1.
Yes. I was like, I have to write what's on my front burner. So in an ideal world, I'd love to just go in chronological order. I said, that's exactly what Pastor Tim does. He just hacks through. When one's done, he begins 2. I said, I think that's probably the better way to go, but I can't do that. And I said, so everybody's different.
Yeah.
But one last thing, going back to what you said about just life and the brevity and wanting to make it count. I don't know why, and I'm not even going to be able to come near to do it justice, but Louis Giglio gave one of the most just memorable messages about, it brought the mirror, and he's talking about of course he brought it into space, and it's like, it talked about the silvery, I forget what it's called, the spectra or whatever, the silvery surface on the moon, and how it helps reflect.
Yeah.
And how
we're actually seeing the sunlight when we see the moon.
Yes.
Correct.
The whole thing. And he's talking about, and you are the same way. You were designed to reflect the glory of God to the world. You have a little mirror. What are you going to do with your mirror? What are you going to do with your short life? What are you going to, and he just, it was, but at the very end, he told this story. It was a story about a rodeo. And he talked about how someone took him to a rodeo. And he talked about how since he was a speaker at this event nearby, he got to sit and he's watching these like young men that are like in shape and have done this and are courageous, but are trembling with fear because they're on this bull that is massive and powerful, and people can get trampled and then he's just talking about, he said the moment that gate swings open, and he's like, guess how long they're expected to stay
7 seconds.
8 seconds.
8, yeah, that's what it is.
And he said, and some of you are thinking, 8 seconds, I could do that. And he goes through this whole thing, and he's like, no, you couldn't. He's like, no offense, you could not stay on 8 seconds.
Told me that they had a bull thing at the conference.
No,
thing.
they
should have had a bull at the conference. No. Not the real one, but the riding bull thing.
Yeah.
Where you can get on, and they could have done that.
Yeah, maybe. But anyways, he ended in the only way he could. He ended it, and he basically just, I don't know why, I just felt it. And he just said, 8 seconds. Most people have 80 years. He said, I'm telling you, he said, you don't have 80 years. He said, a lot of us, he said, you got about 4 seconds left. You got about 4 seconds to decide what you're going to do with this life, what you're going to do with your story, what you're going to do with your mirror. And I don't know why, but you hear all these speeches about how the brevity of life, but so I wrote at the bottom of my 2023 page, I got about 4 seconds left.
1,000. 2. No. Well, I think,
and, I don't know.
I'd love it. That's beautiful. I think what our hope in just even this conversation is to inspire anybody that's listening or watching to, we're still early in January. It's not too late.
Yeah.
To really try to set some vision for this year. Accomplish something this year. Don't just exist. And the way to do that is really to orient your life around some kind of vision, whether it's the future, whether it's a word you feel like maybe that's what you can take away from this as you begin to kind of just maybe in your own time with God, if you're a faith-based person. If not, maybe it's, what is something that you want to aspire to? What can you consolidate that down to one word? Yeah. And that word, in a way, I think needs to inspire you. That word linger inspires you. In the context, you heard it, but it needs to inspire you. Don't read. I want to read books this year. Okay, that's great. That's a goal. I don't know if I'd want to make that my word. Right. You know what I mean? I want it to inspire, evoke something inside of me. And so maybe you'll kind of walk away from this conversation going, he's got 5 pages, 35 goals, a word, this. I got nothing. Okay, hey, if you do one thing that's a major accomplishment this year and it's significant, but without that goal, you're less likely to do it, right? Michael Hyatt, you talked about that. What do you 40%?
42%.
42% more likely if you write it down. Put it in front of you. Yeah. Write it down. Put it out there. Put the vision down. Hope will begin to fill, like you said.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you want more details on how to do the full Russ Moore Hope Vision package, looking for a life coach, you can send an email into podcast@thex.church. He'd be more than happy to meet with you and consult for $99.99 per hour.
Let us know if we should do a follow-up to this.
What would the follow-up be?
I don't know. I mean,
more of yours?
No, I want to hear more of yours, and then maybe we could create a space where we go through and I don't know if I want to be more vulnerable, but say, okay, so how should we approach these goals? What does accountability look like? Did you see the thing about the planes this morning?
Mm-mm.
So FAA had to ground almost every American flight this morning because there was a computer outage. So the information that goes up, and so they don't think it was a cyber attack, but they don't know. They just like an hour ago resumed flights.
Are you serious? I had no idea.
And so it's the beginning of the year and flights are grounded. This may sound cheesy, but let's talk through the month of January. How can we actually get 2023 in the sky? And what are the systems that we're going to put in place to where we don't crash back on the tarmac by February or March or April?
All right. Sounds good. We need vision for your life. So, well, thanks for tuning in with us today, and I appreciate you sharing all the stuff you did. And, hey, we'd love to know, like, if you have a word or if you have any comments on this, if you have a plan that you followed, if you would really like to have some vision plan given to you from Russ, you can do that. You just send in an email. We'd, as always, love to know. And our goal is just to encourage people, like, go somewhere this year.
Yeah.
Have some vision for your life, some direction, some goals, get fit, do something. I don't know, make this the year you're going to what professionally, you're going to what personally, make this, even if you don't do all of those, if you have one goal and it's something you've wanted to do for a long time and you haven't, maybe put that on there and run after it.
Right.
By the end of the year, if you accomplish it, you'll have moved something, done something. And so hopefully it's been an engaging conversation, encouraging one for you. As always, if you know somebody you think would be encouraged by this, maybe someone to be challenged by this, like, hey, maybe someone you'd have a conversation with about, hey, let's come up with a word together and let's do this, then share it with them. That's always helpful. But until next time, we hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week.